Jimmy Patronis, of course, won Florida won. It is, I know a little about, by 14 points. Escambia County, though, Pensacola, a place, as we've been saying all morning, that Jerry Falwell said was the most conservative place in America, went blue for the first time in 30, let's see, I got to Congress in 94. So it was in 92 for 33 years.
All right.
33 years. And I mean, that's by definition a canary in a coal mine.
That is something, yeah.
Let's think about this, Molly. If you're a Republican and you're in the House, and I know something about this, and you're in a district that Donald Trump won by less than 15 points, and Donald Trump's not going to be on the ballot because that Trump political, pull is not transferable. Man, you got to be thinking. Like Mike Lawler, who's on the show a lot, you want to run for governor in New York State? It's time to figure out how to start working with some Democrats, be able to go to the voters and say, I'm not owned by Elon Musk. I work for you.
Yeah, I think what was interesting about what happened last night is that Trumpism does not scale, right? Trump is able to defy political gravity in a way that Elon Musk is not.
Right, and when Donald Trump's on the ballot, he will get people who traditionally vote Democratic or don't vote at all to come out. When Donald Trump's not on the ballot, they don't come out.
And even despite the fact that this was the most expensive judiciary election ever, it didn't work for Elon.
So let's also bring in former senior spokesperson and advisor for the Harris campaign, Adrian Elrod, U.S. national editor at the Financial Times, Ed Luce, and contributing writer for The Atlantic and associate professor in global politics at University College London, Brian Klaas is with us as well. Great group.
So, Adrian, you know this better than anybody else because you've worked for candidates that have run against Donald Trump in 2016 and 2024. I've said it all along, and I said it before Donald Trump came on the scene. Republicans thought Reaganism was transferable. It wasn't. Democrats thought they could, they could do what Bill Clinton did. They can't. Democrats thought Obama and that Obama magic was transferable. It wasn't. And it is the same thing with Donald Trump. When Donald Trump is not on the ballot, Republicans are exposed.
Yeah, that's right, Joe. And look, I'm not sure if Donald Trump was actually on the ballot for some reason right now. I'm not sure that would also be a good thing for Republicans. I think, first of all, I think Donald Trump and Republicans are forgetting that this was a very narrow election. Donald Trump won by a narrow margin. He likes to go out there and say it was a mandate. It was not a mandate. This was a very close election. And the primary reason, as we've talked a lot about on this show, Joe, that he won is because prices were too high. So now he's going in, he's disrupting the system. He's got a billionaire who doesn't even, you can argue whether or not he even should be doing what he's doing in the government, who's making, laying off all these federal employees, making very erratic decisions. Trump is making erratic decisions with imposing tariffs, which is a giant tax on the American people, raising costs. He's doing everything. Trump and Elon are doing everything that they said that they would not do when it comes to lowering costs. They are causing disruption. They are causing chaos. And the American people don't like it. This is not what they signed up for. So we saw that play out in Wisconsin. No matter how Republicans try to slice it, Joe, you're from Florida. You know very well, or you live in Florida. You know very well that these were races that they should have won by a far larger margin than they did. So it's a warning sign to Republicans, and maybe some guy a billionaire going to Wisconsin wearing a big, giant piece of fake cheese on his head, telling voters how to vote is not a very effective strategy.
Not sure he knows how to read the room, especially in Wisconsin. So, Brian, we were talking about it earlier. Maybe holding $1 million checks would sell in like Edwards, Louisiana, but Wisconsin, Minnesota, states like that, as Chris Matthews said, those are the definition of good government states. And this just blew up politically in their faces. You can't buy an election in Wisconsin.
Yeah, and as a native Minnesotan, I'll give kudos to the neighboring state. I mean, I think this is something where Elon Musk was really transparent about what he was trying to do. It was obvious to everyone. He does not have political acumen like he thinks he does. Right. And I think when he lives on an echo chamber on X all the time with these sort of fawning grifters who love Elon Musk and think he can do no wrong, he ends up in this mental bubble where he thinks all I have to do is bring in the cash and people will do what I say. And I think, Americans understand that the stakes of this election and the stakes of politics right now are really affecting everyone, right? Everyone knows someone who's affected by cancer. So when you cut cancer research, that affects everyone. Everyone knows people who are involved in supply chains, importing things or buying things at the supermarket or at other products that are going to be affected by tariffs. So Trump is going across the board and poisoning the well of politics in ways that I think Republicans are going to learn the hard way is going to cut across existing political divides and really cause some political harm to them. And
Ed Luce, you have the richest man in the world. The richest man in the world calling Social Security a Ponzi scheme. You have the richest man in the world firing veterans that have served America for 20 years in uniform, go to the Pentagon, and then are immediately fired. You've got Elon Musk firing people in the VA, going after the Social Security Administration. So, yes, while Americans want to cut waste, fraud, and abuse, and I will say Al Gore did a really good job of scaling back over time. It was, can't believe I'm quoting Joe Rogan here, but as Joe Rogan said about the immigration policy, you measure twice, you cut once. And Elon Musk has taken the opposite approach, and I think Republicans paid for it last night.
I think they did pay for it. I mean, he said that if this race went the wrong way, which it did from his point of view, that would be the end of Western civilization. So Musk isn't, given to understatement. His theory being that then a liberal-dominated Wisconsin Supreme Court will gerrymander the state, and then the House will fall into Democratic hands, and then the House will start conducting witch hunts and investigations into Elon Musk, which is his definition of the end of Western civilization. So I think we're dealing with somebody here who doesn't have a very good grasp of reality, to put it mildly. And last night was a reality check for him. Whether that, as Brian mentions, acts as any check on this sort of ecosphere, this sort of Musk-boosting, ego massaging ecosphere that he owns and lives in, is a whole nother question. And whether it causes Trump to question Musk's utility, at least on the campaign trail, is also a whole nother question. But I have no doubt that Musk's unpopularity and Tesla's falling sales is not only real. I mean, you just feel that when you talk to people and listen to people. It's not only real, but it's going to continue. And the fact that the richest guy in history is plundering what little some of the poorest people have in this country and indeed overseas with the dismantling of USAID is an obscenity that I think, cannot be covered up.
Well, and Republicans are starting to talk about it. Conservatives are starting to talk about it. They're deeply concerned. And we heard Brian reporting all day yesterday afternoon that Republican congressmen and congresswomen and senators were rooting for a Democratic win in Wisconsin last night because they wanted Elon Musk's wings clipped. They wanted him out of the way because they know that he's savaging. He's cutting a lot of these, bureaucracies in a way that could cause real harm. And
that is causing harm.
That's causing real harm. Your latest piece, I love your latest piece, because you talk to the when there's something where the CIA is getting hammered, and you talk to somebody inside the agency, what they'll say is, they never write stories about the bombs that don't go off, about the lives that are saved for people. You've written about that, and it really does. It applies to safety in the air. It applies to when families are sitting around their kitchen table and the food that they're eating. It applies to their grandmom or their granddad and treatment for Alzheimer's. It applies, to 50% of the kids in rural America who get their health care from Medicaid. Explain it. The disasters, we don't ever write about the disasters that don't happen because the safety net is overall Americans.
Yeah, these are the invisible successes of government. And government is supposed to provide resilience against catastrophic harms that might happen, right? So what's happening now is Elon Musk is taking a chainsaw to government, and he's trying to say that all of these things that he's cutting are inefficiencies. Everything looks inefficient until you need it. That's the way it works in government. It's replacing, like a climber replacing sort of this, very sturdy, resilient climbing rope with low-cost string. And it looks fine until you fall. And then you realize it snapped and you needed it all along. And when you look at what Elon Musk is doing to government, he is savaging those forms of resilience. Look back to 2019 when the Trump administration cut $200 million of budget to save money on monitoring novel coronaviruses around the world. In 2019, they cut that because it looked like waste. Now, after the coronavirus pandemic hit, the government spent $4.6 trillion on dealing with the fallout of that. So it's 23,000 times more money to deal with the fallout than to deal with the prevention. And so when you look at what government is doing, Elon Musk is taking it as though he's this sort of unelected king that just sees, oh, yes, this deserves money, this doesn't. And of course, he doesn't have a crystal ball. He doesn't know what catastrophic risks lurk into the future.
Right.
And so, this is the kind of stuff where we're all going to find out the hard way why government spending exists. And I really hope that the damage is not severe before we learn that lesson.
Well, and Adrian, we're starting to hear from Republicans on Capitol Hill who are just saying it openly. He doesn't have the power to do our jobs. We have subcommittees, and then we have committees, and then we vote out on the House floor, then get together with the Senate, then we figure out, what to keep in, what to cut, then we send it to the president, and then the president signs it. And you're starting to hear more from Republicans. It's taken them a long time in the House and the Senate say, not your job, our job.